Hello, welcome to Tuning Inward through the psoas. So today we're going to start out having the hips slightly elevated. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about doing that. If you prefer to have something underneath your head or maybe the bottom edge of a towel or blanket rolled up just to kind of support that lower curvature of your neck. And then, so a few options are you can use a bolster, which I think is kind of nice because it's not really high and it's soft. So lifting up your hips, placing that bolster just underneath the hips. So making sure it's not coming too high into that lumbar spine, soles of the feet to the mat, and the knees can just kind of gently fall in on each other. You can even put soles of the feet together, have legs drift outward. If you are feeling really comfortable, especially in low back, you can extend your legs, but just be really mindful of that pressure on the low back. The other option here as we start out is to bring a block, placing it down so horizontal on the lowest side, lifting up hips, again, making sure that it's just right underneath the bony area of your hips. And same thing, you can have knees drifting on each other. You can just leave soles of the feet towards the mat, knees up, sort of like an active rest. And wherever you are, just begin to let the body soften down to the mat. Let there be a softness in your head and neck, and see if there's a softening that can happen behind shoulder blades, allowing the tops of the shoulders to ease down to the mat. See here in this moment, just a brief noticing. So taking a very brief and subtle inventory on your body, starting at the crown of your head and just moving very slowly, making sure that you notice spaciousness. A lot of times we'll notice where we have some tension, but maybe there's a space that feels nice and light. Taking some time there. And then as you're ready, starting to begin a broadening of your breath. So as you inhale, let that breath be big. Let that breath travel first to the low belly and expand all the way to the crown of the head. Be easy with your inhale. And today, pay particular attention to the details of your exhale. So as you exhale smoothly and softly, maybe noticing a bit more. Where do you feel your body sensing the relaxation in the exhale? On each exhale, noticing, can I pour even more of this breath out? Can I use low belly just as a gentle press to get more air out? Maybe even taking some time on one of your exhales, releasing your jaw, letting out an audible sigh. Maybe the next one you don't, and just notice if there's a shift, if there's a difference. as we begin to bring attention today to our inner landscape, I kind of thought it would be good to pay attention to letting go. And to be honest with you, when I hear people talk about that yama, aparigraha, letting go, non-possessiveness, or even just when I would enter into a yoga class, the more I would hear just let go, I felt like I was hanging on even tighter. It just sounded like it was such a simple task for everybody else. But when you have a personality that likes to think and think and think some more, the letting go becomes very difficult. Not to everybody, but maybe if this is you, maybe this kind of resonates. And so as I was learning about the yamas in Deborah Dell's book, when she discusses aparigraha, she says, aparigraha, or non-possessiveness, invites us to practice divine play, to experience full intimacy and contact with the moment, and then to let go so the next can come. And those two tenets, the becoming in full contact with the moment, so that there's an appreciation, so that there's a full integration with the moment. And then knowing that as we let go so more can come in. So that being present and that knowledge of letting go allows more abundance, became kind of anchors to this whole letting go scenario. So even if just for today on your mat, you can let those be your anchors, being fully present. This time here is your space for listening inward, drawing inward, having conversations with self, with body, and then being willing to let go, knowing that there's more coming in. So here, if there's something, a mantra, a person, a place, just the words let go, even the word willing, whatever it is for you, let it be here, let it inhale, expand that within, and then a cleansing exhale, full release of breath, full release of whatever that is that you had brought up. It'll still meet us as we move along our mat. And wherever you're at, just taking a little time to bring a little bit of movement, even if it's just bringing the toes down to the mat and then bringing the heels, toes up, just kind of a little walk back and forth, starting to wake up the lower half. You can windshield wiper the knees from side to side if it feels good, but we're gonna kind of leave this here. So maybe not going so deep as you feel that you need to move whatever you're on top of. And then as you're ready, gently drawing those feet up towards the ceiling. Knees can be bent. So kind of like a little raised dead bug here. Make some circles into the ankles. And as you make these circles, do so if it feels okay to you, and if it's easier to sense into your ankles to watch, or maybe it is a little bit easier to close your eyes and really feel the ankles, our feet, maybe noticing the bottom of your feet, and then reverse that circle, really kind of taking into account how it feels each angle, maybe even fanning out your toes and see what that feels like. I often get a Charlie horse when I do that, but I wasn't aware until I tried. But just really feeling into your feet. We often don't need to think about our feet, and that's nice. And sometimes we do because of maybe a little pain or ache, but just here letting whatever that is be. And drawing those knees into chest. Maybe removing what you have now so that we can get a little bit more range of motion in that windshield wiper. Letting those hips release. Big deep inhales as you exhale. Again, think of that breath as it's leaving, almost clearing and cleansing. And then as you are ready, we'll bring those knees back towards center, bringing the feet so they're hip width apart and just behind your seat. So you might be able to even touch them slightly, touching your heels slightly with your fingertips. But just allow your arms to fall out to the side in a position that allows the tops of your shoulders to easily come down to the mat. Sometimes when our hands are far forward, our back of our shoulders lift. So bringing them a little bit further out kind of allows that opening of the chest, the collarbone. As you're here, take an inhale, and as if you were holding or your pelvis was a bowl of water, as you inhale, let the tailbone drift upward as if you could pour that bottle or that bowl of water towards your face. And as you exhale, tip and tilt the pelvis, the tailbone downward so you could spill the bowl of water towards your feet. And just going back and forth here with your breath. And if it feels okay to do so in the space you're at, to close your eyes, you could even bring the fingertips to the hip creases if you would like to feel the psoas muscle here in this space, kind of contracting and sliding back and forth. Our psoas muscle connects to the top of the thigh, moves across our hip bones, and wraps around towards the back of the lumbar spine. It even has a little brief connection there to diaphragm. So connecting our upper and lower half. It's rather sensitive. So today we're just going to be moving in numerous directions, and at the end, if you'd like, we can do a neurogenic tremor to find a release. So come now a bit more to a neutral spine, so find that softening. We're going to fan out the toes, just taking a moment, feel into the feet. So lift the toes, fan them out, then soften them back down to the mat. This time as you inhale, and start to curl the tailbone upward. Keep that lift going. Press heels down into the mat and start to slowly lift the hips, almost one vertebrae at a time. To some, this kind of wave-like motion here on the floor, pressing vertebrae into mat might hurt. So don't feel like you need to go one vertebrae at a time, especially if there's any pain in your back. As you exhale, feel that tailbone tilt again upwards as you begin to roll the spine nice and slowly back down. If slowly and rolling does not feel good, just you can bring that spine down evenly towards the floor. Once you land, find that tilting of the pelvis forward, and then notice how your spine slowly lifts off the mat this way. Each vertebrae moving nice and slow. almost all the way up in between your shoulder blades. You can even press your shoulder blades into the mat. Let that heart lift if that feels good to you. Wherever you're at, inhale or exhale with your breath. I'll let you decide. Then move the opposite direction. Start to feel vertebrae by vertebrae towards the mat. And then once again, roll that spine upwards, lifting up the hips. Press those heels down. Feel that lift. Just noticing the sensations in your back. Can even lift, press the tops of shoulders, keeping space between chin and chest nice and open. And then slowly noticing the back, almost connecting with gravity once again. Nice and slow, just moving really slowly, even if you're not rolling. And then once you land here at the bottom, that tilt, tilting that tailbone forward, and then feel each lift, each area of the back slowly lift off the mat. And we'll go through one more time. And this here is also really nice to do during the time that we do our neurogenic tremor, especially if tremoring feels really intense. Sometimes just noticing the spine and letting the hip flexor, the psoas muscle, move back and forth. And then slowly lower. Kind of sensing into the spine is another nice way that we can connect and find a little bit of release. And then we're going to tilt forward one last time. Nice and slowly, just noticing maybe the low back lifts up and then that mid back, maybe even upper back as you press shoulder blades down. And this time as you exhale, just find a really neutral position, maybe even knees drift in towards each other and just release any bit of effort. Exhale, release your jaw. Lots of those today. Deborah Dell said, what if we could trust life as we trust breath? That it brings in all we need and that we can release and let go. And the exhale takes out all we no longer need. Then bringing those hands up towards the ceiling, make circles into the hands now. Noticing into the wrists. Noticing how that circling feels, moving nice and slow. But still keep your shoulders soft, so not lifting up too far, but just letting your shoulders kind of be that nice anchor to the mat, and reverse the circle of the wrists. And then taking hold of opposite elbow with opposite hand, so coming into like I dream of Genie arms. As you're ready, let that left hand draw the right elbow towards the left, then let it circle around towards your belly, starting to get into the shoulders and a little bit of shoulder blades. Then that right arm begins to pull the left elbow over to the side, the right side, and then up overhead. And just letting those arms move in a range of motion that your body allows. So sometimes our shoulders can feel a little tense. So just move really slowly, lots of breath. Letting that elbow gently draw. And then if there happens to be a space that feels really good, feel free to spend a little bit more time there as you circle the arms. There's no need to go quickly through the circles. You can spend some time, maybe it's drawing the shoulder over at a certain ankle, just angle feels really nice. Going back and forth there. Going through one more time, a couple more breaths, and then we'll reverse that. So as you reverse, then that left hand Gently draws the right elbow over and then down towards, nope, that's the other way. Sorry, opposite way. Rest your belly. I think I already did it right. It's more confusing than one would think to explain this move. And as soon as I get it, I say the opposite. See if you can't soften the hip flexors here. Sometimes if there's tension that we find or stir up in one part of the body, another part will kind of hold, especially the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle kind of senses into whether real or perceived danger. It's what curls us into fetal positions, in the name of keeping our internal organs safe, but we are safe here in this space of just kind of finding a relaxation. One more circle around. And then just release. Maybe it's cactusing the arms up. Maybe you'd like to windshield wiper the legs once again, or maybe it just feels good to straighten. They've been bent for a long time. Whatever feels good to you. Just taking another breath here before we come up to a seated. Maybe even a little brief scan, a little brief notation, what maybe feels different than when you first started, just even by this brief time breathing. And as you're ready, a couple of options to get up. You can draw knees to the chest and begin rocking from the front to the back of your mat, giving that spine another little massage. If that doesn't feel good today, just feel free to rock from side to side until one side feels really good to roll over on, and then gently roll to that side. Softly pressing ourselves up towards seated. And if you'd like, you can bring a rolled up towel or a blanket, placing it behind you, sitting on the edge of it, just to give yourself a little bit more space in the hip flexors, letting the knees fall open. You can always bring some blocks, placing them underneath the thighs as well, just to soften into the hip creases. As you find yourself in this really comfortable seated position, take a little moment to wiggle. Find that earth, feel the crown of the head reach up. Take a nice big inhale. And again, notice that exhale. Let it go, let shoulder blades go. Maybe some tension in the face. Take a nice big inhale, reach arms overhead. As you exhale, let the left hand soften, right hand reaching over, starting to move into the side body. Feeling that opening between the intercostal muscles of the ribs. Coming back up to center. Exhale, right hand comes down, left hand reaches over. Keep sits bones, both of them down towards the mat. Inhale up through center. Take a big breath, grow long, but shoulder blades glide down your back. As you exhale, bring those hands down. Find that length in the spine. Bring that right hand to the top of the left knee. Left hand can come behind you. Big inhale to grow long through the spine. As you exhale, feel that twist coming from the belly, then the ribs, then your shoulders twist. Then allow that gaze to keep going over the shoulder. Each inhale growing long. As you exhale, find that twist. And just listening here, so feel into that twist, feel the compression, feel the opening. Again, it's like that coming into full contact with the moment, seeing what's here in this space, in this twist. Is it comfortable even? And it's okay if it's not comfortable. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly come back forward, leaving that right hand on top of the left knee, lifting up the left hand, bringing it over the top, taking hold of the opposite knee. And then just a gentle energetic pull in the opposite direction. So if you were to kind of try and undo your arms, but your knees were holding them, find a little length here in the spine. So we're not curling in too much, but kind of a little bit of a lean forward. And then just kind of bending from side to side, letting each shoulder melt down softly. And these are forever going to remind me of Carolina. This is where she's a person I got these from, and it just felt so good. So just letting yourself go a little bit, feeling into that stretch in the back body. And then letting ourselves have that moment of people. Maybe it's a feeling of sadness because that person is no longer close, and just letting it be okay so that emotion can go. And I think sometimes it's harder to let go when we don't come in full contact with what we feel. And then come back towards center. Let's inhale, bring those arms overhead. Find a big stretch, a cactus of the arms, opening of the chest. And then bring that left hand to the top of the right knee, right hand behind, long through the spine, but allow shoulder blades to drift down your back. And then as you exhale, let the core draw your torso and ribs and shoulders. So not so much of a heavy push and pull of the arms. Let your gaze go over the shoulder. Exhale. Maybe all that breath moves out so that twist becomes a bit deeper. And then whenever you're ready on an exhale, find that softening back forward, but the left hand stays down. This time the right hand is going to reach around and on top of that left knee. Once again, that little energetic pulse. You kind of notice some sensations, maybe in the front of the shoulders, maybe in the back between shoulder blades, and then just a nice rocking from side to side while keeping that energetic pull. And maybe even a little bit of scanning here. Do you feel this between shoulder blades? Shoulders, is it low back? Without judgment though, just allow that space of awareness to build. Kind of like a leaf here. So leaves every year just let go, but when they're on the tree, they come in full contact with all of it, all of the sun, the wind, the rain. Coming back to center. Inhale, bring those arms up. Nice big cactusing, lifting the heart. And then we're going to work my favorite somatic stretching. So this is a little different than we did on Sunday. So on Sunday, we kind of worked into the bottom of the feet, back of the hips to kind of work up here. This is going to be working the back of the leg so that we can stretch the back of the leg. So working to support psoas, working to support the full leg. So bringing soles of the feet towards the mat, and then extend, let's extend the right foot so it's a little bit easier for you to see on my left side. So taking hold of the left foot into the hand. So heel is going to stay down towards the mat. And if you have a really grippy mat, it might be a little bit more helpful to get a blanket because we're going to need that heel to slide. So if it's a little bit easier to have a blanket. So right foot is extended, taking hold of the bottom of the left foot into the hand. Find the sits bones rooting down, crown of the head reaches up. Here, lifting up the bottom of the feet. So instead of just being fully flat, we're lifting up the bottom of the feet, creating a little bit of pressure. So almost as if you're trying to press the gas and your hands weren't allowing it. And then let that heel slide forward. And then keep this length here in the spine as you hinge forward at the waist, only coming not all the way down, but just slightly down. So as you're pressing that foot down, you notice the back of the leg light up, and then exhale, coming back. You don't need to come back all the way to your seat, just kind of coming back slightly. once again, find that resistance. So as if you could press that pedal down and your hands were creating that resistance, and then slide the heel forward. You might really notice each time that you go out that that back of the leg is lighting up. And then coming back. So using that breath, maybe inhale on the way back. Exhale, find that lift, find that length in the spine. Exhale, again, as if you were trying to press on a gas pedal, hands resisting to feel some tension in the back of the leg. So somatic stretching is kind of almost letting that, and then just back and forth. We're going back one more time. Kind of letting that nervous system kind of rewire. So this will be the last time. Keep pressing that foot like you're pressing a gas pedal, hinging forward at the hips, only going so far as feels good to you, and really let that stretch. Once you feel it at the bottom, you can release. So release that tension. You might even notice maybe there's a little bit of softening in low back, and then coming up, placing hands behind you, soles of the feet towards the mat. Let's windshield wiper the legs just to release any tension that maybe we've created in other areas, maybe in the hips. So just kind of letting the nervous system get involved with our stretching. So a little bit of a almost rewiring when we get that nervous system involved. So now we're going to extend the left leg, taking the right foot into hands. Again, find that lift. So sits bones root down, crown of the head reaches up. So lifting up on the ball of the feet, so the toes are lifted, but then as if you could almost press them down like you were pressing a gas pedal as that heel slides forward, hinging forward at the hips, so keeping that length in the spine. My towel is a little herky-jerky on this too. And then coming back up, and maybe not all the way, you don't need to come all the way back towards your seat, but then realigning, let your shoulder blades glide down your back, feel crown of the head reach up. Again, press those feet downward, find that resistance, feel that tension created in the back of the leg. Pressing that foot, feel that tension in the hamstring. You might even notice a little tension in the low back, and then we'll go one more time. So we're kind of purposefully turning these on and then allowing this nice little release. So we've got the nervous system involved. We're saying, hey, light this up, and then saying, okay, we're done. Slowly release, keep that hinge forward, and then just let go. And we'll kind of go back in a moment to feel that stretch, but you can windshield wiper just to find a little counter balance to that. So I really like somatic stretching with letting go, because maybe it's because I do find it so hard to let go. So coming in full contact, I'm really digging in, really diving into how this feels. And then we're going to now kind of test that out. So if you wanted to sit on the edge of a blanket, coming into staff pose, bringing those legs out in front. You don't need to sit on the edge of a blanket if it just feels more comfortable for you to do so. Then you can. Flexing into those feet, feel sits bones rooted down, crown of the head reach up, and then find that hinge forward at the hips only so far as feels good to you. Keep that chest reaching forward. Just feeling into the back, feeling into the back of the legs. And if this is really intense on hamstrings, bring some blocks underneath. So it's more about that listening than it is how far we can go. And then as you're ready, bring that torso up. Just giving that back body a stretch after a full day. And then we're gonna come into table. So if you'd like to have a towel or a blanket underneath your knees, go ahead and do so. Bringing your knees directly underneath your hips, fanning out the fingers, nice and wide, and wrists can walk forward from the shoulders, especially if you have some kind of pain in the wrists, softening into them. And we're just going to start moving into the spine. So starting with cat-cows, as you inhale, let those hips lift, low belly sinks down, heart shines through, chin comes up. As you exhale, tuck those hips under, press the mat, draw the belly in, broaden the space between shoulders. And even if just for today, really focus on that exhale. As you come into that cat, maybe there's even a softening down to the earth first, and then press away as much as you can. All of the air. Opening up that heart. Lifting the chin if it feels okay. Coming a little bit more to a neutral spine, and then just allow the hips to kind of rock from right to left. No, did I freeze? So as if you could draw your left hip point towards the right shoulder, and then I'm sorry, to the right hip point to the right shoulder, left hip point to the left shoulder. So just kind of as if you could get those hips to move from side to side. So getting as much spinal movement as we can creates these great neural connections so that we can kind of hear. And then once you've gotten all of that, if you wanted to move your ribs just from side to side, so not just the hips, but then move those ribs, maybe even rounding up like a cat and then letting them drift to the left, side to side. And whatever feels good here. If there's more of a sneaky, all-in-one movement that feels good to you, go ahead and do that. Just give yourself a little space. And then as you're ready, we're gently walk our hands just a handprint forward, keeping those elbows in by the side. We're just going to gently come down. So elbows come 90, then let those hips lower down. Bringing the elbows directly underneath shoulders, pressing all 10 toenails into the mat. So now your kneecaps are kind of lifting off, softening the low back by bringing pubic bone to belly button. Then keep that kind of wave forward of the spine. Let that heart lift up. Gently draw those elbows to the back and the chin lifts. So a little sphinx pose here. Take a big deep inhale. And as you exhale, a very cleansing. Let all that breath out. So if you were to draw in, knowing that that breath is giving you all that you need, you're in full contact with it, so it's easier to exhale it out. So here in this Sphinx pose, after you've gotten all of those beautiful exhales out, kind of working a little bit of core / psoas. So as you're here in this space, take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, think of drawing your hip points together so much so that your hips begin to lift off of the mat. Press elbows in, feel the shoulder blades widen. Some people may even be able to lift so far as those knees lift, but really we're just looking through that rounding, drawing in, and then soften back down, but keep that low back soft. Heart shines forward. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, once again, draw as if you could draw your hip points in towards each other so much so that your hips float. And soften back down. Take a nice big inhale. Shoulder blades draw down your back. We'll just go one more time. Inhale it out. Exhale. So shoulder blades kind of separate, those hips lift, lower it back down. Bring those hands by the side, nice and gently to press yourself all the way up and back into a nice restful child's pose. Knees go wide, toes come together, send the hips back. Nice big inhale, cleansing exhale. Just taking a moment to notice kind of how that felt. Even feel into the hip flexors here. Maybe even rocking side to side if that feels good to you. Take a big breath into the space between your shoulder blades. And as you exhale, think of the back body just kind of blanketing through the front. Taking your gaze forward, fanning out those fingertips, coming to table briefly, tucking the toes, sending the hips high, coming into downward facing dog. So our first downward facing dog, you can take a moment to bend into each knee. And take a big inhale up from the earth. Let it kind of expand across your back body, up the arms and the legs. And as you exhale, feel hands and feet really press into the earth. And there it goes. We'll put it back in, no worries. Take a nice big inhale, cleansing exhale out of an open mouth. On your next inhale, come up high on those toes. Tuck the tailbone and we're going to wave the spine forward into plank. Take a nice inhale here. As you exhale, let both heels drift over to the right. Take a deep bend in your knees, send your seat back to the right. Press your chest straight back. Nice big breath. Coming back to center, downward facing dog. Big inhale in, cleansing breath out. On your next inhale, come high on the toes. Let the tailbone gently slide under and then slink forward like a snake through your spine. Crown of the head reaches forward. Let the heels drift to the left. Seat back, deep bend in the knees, chest back towards your thighs. And then come back to downward facing dog. As you're ready on your next inhale, let that right leg float up. As you exhale, come high on the toes, soften into knees, soften into elbows, then bring that right foot behind the right hand. We're going to gently sink that left knee down to the mat. So bringing a block with you. And this is going to be optional. We're going to place a block on the top of the thigh, elbow on the top of the block. So this is going to kind of start to create a little bit of loading into the psoas, but also really helps keep our pelvis kind of teaching it some stability. But you can do this without that pressure of elbow to leg. Take a nice big inhale, grow long here through the crown of the head. So keep this little bit of tension between elbow and the block, thigh and the block, and you'll notice that hip flexor, that psoas muscle kind of light up. Take a big deep inhale. We're going to tuck that back leg, lifting it up, coming up here. So nice and strong. Then bring that left foot to meet the right, still keeping this tension between the block. You can inhale, lift that left arm. So now we're kind of in this chair pose. Take a moment to send the weight back in the heels, weight back in the hips, and just kind of feel this here. Feel the psoas working, feel those hips becoming stable. You might even notice the right one feels a little bit more stable than the left with this pressing down. Then set all that weight into your left foot as you rise up here. So we are working balance. If you have a chair or a wall handy, keep that pressing down between, like you were lifting up your knee into the block, but also driving the block down with your elbow. Feel that tension created in the hip crease. Inhale, raise that left hand. As you exhale, keep that left foot feeling really weighty, weight back in your heel as you come into almost a warrior three, but you'll notice you can't really release that block. Reach crown of the head forward. Big deep breath in, exhale, come back up to standing. I'm gonna face you, well, a little bit this way. This time, bring that hip out as you keep that pressure and almost as if you could come into half moon. Just do what you can, and you can release that hold on the block, opening up slightly the hip, slightly the shoulder. Beautiful. Come back now towards center. Big inhale up. As you exhale, lower back down into that chair. Weight back into the heels, weight back into the hips. Step that left foot back. Nice and slowly lower that left knee down. Ooh, beautiful. Now we're going to release some of that tension. So you can set that block off to the side. Bring that left hand down. You can use the block if you like underneath the left hand. And we're going to go through a little flow and then let you kind of go. So here in this flow, we're going to lift up the back leg, reach the right arm forward, twisting towards the back. Then bring that weight back in the heel. So as you make sure that you're being really stable, we're not forward onto the toes, but back into that heel, using that core. You can bend that back leg, and you don't have to stay in this twist. You can come back forward to come up, or keep that right arm back, twisting up, twisted crescent, and then flow it open into warrior two. On your next inhale, reverse. Left hand comes down, right hand comes up. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, right forearm to the top of the right thigh. Reach that left arm over. If you know you would really like a release today and need to fatigue your psoas, keep that right arm kind of hovering as you reach. If that feels good to you. If you're feeling tired, if that feels really intense, no need to. Then pivot back forward. Bring that left hand down. Slowly lower that left knee. Send those hips back. Little half pyramid. And now we're going to use this space for you to flow. So coming forward, after all that rigidity with the block, find some fluid motion. If you'd like, bring that right hand back. You can twist, just making sure that you're using your core wherever you're going. And find a letting go of all the cues. Find a letting go of making this look exactly like mine. Maybe you want to come into Trikonasana here. Maybe full pyramid feels better for you. I'm going to keep flowing with what we did, but as you're here, as we go through a couple more times, finding what feels like your body is requesting. Maybe it's requesting deep stretches. Maybe you'd like to really fatigue that psoas, and if so, find that pause here. Any leaning forward and pressing forward will really fatigue that psoas. And just see how much you can let go of. And if your body isn't telling you something specific, or you can't really hear what would feel best, just keep moving. Just keep flowing. And eventually, you might kind of have some intuitive feeling of where your body is asking you to go. And eventually we'll meet as we're all finished up here in downward dog. And when you're finished, take a big deep inhale, cleansing exhale. Maybe even noticing this side, noticing how you feel, noticing how that rigid nature of the block felt versus just flowing. Maybe it felt uncomfortable to float, and that's okay. Big deep inhale, cleansing exhale. As you're ready, inhale, let that left leg float up. Exhale, soften the knee, soften the elbows, press the mat away, bring left foot behind left hand, lower that right knee. So coming back to, again, only if it feels good, that stability, hip stability, flow, using that block, pressing that elbow into the block, finding the softening, so think pubic bone to belly button, still moving with as much integrity in the low back. So press that right foot into the ground, loading everything you have, come up, right foot meets the left, little chair pose. Send weight back into the heels, weight back into the hips. Breathe into this sensation here. Maybe the hip flexors are even shaking. Then take a moment to notice the right foot. Lift up the toes, lower them down. Feel the right foot get really weighty, and then press down. That left foot rises up. I'm gonna face you. Feels a little better. Take a big inhale. Keep pressing knee into block, elbow into block. And then hinge forward from that waist, keeping all the length in your spine. So coming into like a warrior three, but that leg's not gonna go back very far. Inhale, coming back up. Press knee into block, elbow into block, and then bring that knee out to the side as you kind of find like a half moon. Walls are handy, chairs can be handy. Find that reach. Exhale, come back. And lower that left foot back in the chair. Weight back in heels, weight back in hips. Step that right foot back. Gently lower that knee. And release. Bring that right hand down. So now finding that flow. You can untuck the back leg. Just a couple cues to remember as you flow through, making sure the weight back in heels. Inhale. Left arm comes up and reach towards the back. You can keep this arm back here. I would bend in the back knee to help use your core to lift up. Or you can just come into crescent. You don't need to twist. Unfurl all the way to warrior two. Next, inhale, reverse. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, find that extended. Again, if you would really like to fatigue psoas for tremor, kind of hovering that left arm, reaching over, then pivoting back forward, lower that right knee, send those hips back, a little half pyramid. And now's your chance just to flow. I'm going to keep going with this, but again, just find your pace, find your fluid movement. And you can change it. Again, Trikonasana might feel really good. If you would like to tremor, maybe you hover here a little bit longer or hover here before you lower down. Maybe child's pose feels good. That's fine. Child's pose always feels good. But find a listening. Find an exhale that's deep and releasing. And we'll flow through one last time after this. And again, if no movement is calling out to you to change, that's fine. Just keep moving. Just keep an ear to maybe what your heart is saying. And then we'll all meet in downward facing dog. When you're ready, take a big exhale in down dog, moving your head from side to side. Deep breath in, big cleansing breath out. As you're ready, take a look forward, take a deep bend in your knees, however you would like to get to the front of your mat. Walk, hop, step, those feet hip width apart, deep bend in the knees, so low belly, bottom of the ribs comes to the top of the thighs. Take hold of opposite elbows and just find a little sway here. And then hands can come to shins to find a nice half lift. So crown of the head forward, tailbone back. As you exhale, bend those knees forward, fold. As you inhale, bring the weight to the heels and your hips and inhale it up. Exhale, hands start center. So a couple of these kind of throwing, cleansing breaths. So we're going to take an inhale, lifting up, shoulder blades glide down your back, set those hips down in chair. Or if you feel like your psoas is already loaded or you're done with the tremoring isn't super important to you today, you can stay up and as you exhale, come into chair. But if not, I recommend that you stay in chair. So take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, sweep those hands to the left and sweep it all out. Inhale, unfurl. So let that spine wave upward. Exhale, sweep it all to the right. Find an unfurling or rounding here. Exhale, throw it all away. Let it go. Knowing that you have spent time deeply with it. Inhale it up. And let that spine really wave. We'll go one more time each side. Let that unfurling happen. Inhale it up. One more big inhale. This time, open up those feet really wide, wider than hip width, toes pointing towards the front. Send the hips back, hinge forward at the hips. Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Find a little melting here. Maybe you take hold of opposite either ankle or behind the calf. If it feels good to you to inhale, wave the spine long. So kind of finding your breath up from the pelvic floor to the crown of your head. And then let the crown of your head just melt towards the earth. Take those hands, walk them gently to the right. Walk them through center and then to the left. Come back towards center. Heel toe those feet in. And then really gently let yourself come down towards your mat. So this is the space for your neurogenic tremor or whatever it is that you would like. This space is for releasing and listening. So today might be the day that you feel so much energy that needs to be let out. And I would recommend you kind of play with psoas release, and I'll guide you through it. Today might feel like a really guarding type of day, and you may feel that you just want to curl up into a fetal position. That's okay too. And listen, you can turn me down No matter what, I will not be offended if you've already done so as released numerous times. Feel free to turn me off if you just need that space. And in about 10, 15 minutes, we'll do a guided meditation. Or some hip tilts are always really nice. It's kind of this nice connection between psoas, between nervous system, and remember to breathe. So I'll discuss the neurogenic tremor. Come all the way down the length of your mat. Bringing soles of the feet together as if you were in butterfly or cobbler's pose, but then draw them away from your seat. We're going to do one last little lift, one last little kind of intense loading or fatiguing. So press your feet down into the mat and let your hips rise up. Tops of the shoulders are going to stay down towards the mat. And you may notice here a little bit of tremoring, a little bit of rocking from side to side. That's okay. Remember to stay anchored to that breath. So that big deep breath in, cleansing exhale out. And then slowly lower those hips. Just let the knees fall open. So no effort here at all. The belly is soft. The knees are soft. And this neurogenic tremor is your body's natural way to release stress and trauma. Every mammal has its own way of shaking off extra hormones that are caused from fight or flight. Adrenaline and cortisol, dog shake. We used to shake. There's other ways, singing, dancing, and this is just one of them. So here, pressing your feet together and down into the mat. Hips are going to stay down this time. And you might even want to find like a little scooting to, especially if you have a deeper lower abdominal curve, a deep curve in your low back. I often like to reposition my upper back so there's a little bit more of a softness in the curvature of my lower back. And then just gently draw the knees towards each other just an inch. And allow yourself to see what's in this space. You may notice your legs kind of flapping. Sometimes there's just a shake in the low belly. Sometimes it's just a shake in the hip flexors. This tremor can move up the spine and is actually really beneficial if it does move up the spine. It does not have to. Just allow whatever is in the space to be. Just know that you are in control of this as well, and you can stop at any time. Allow those breaths to deepen as you wish, or they can just be at an even natural space. Just let whatever arises be here. And whatever goes, goes. If your body is finished tremoring, or if it's not tremoring the way you expected, just know that you are present in this moment, and this moment is okay. Whatever expectation you have, see if you can't just release that now, or be willing to release it. As you're ready, you can draw those knees towards each other just another little inch. See if you can't soften your face, any tension in your throat, during your collarbone. Just be aware that as you tremor, sometimes emotions can arise, and you are also in complete control of that. If any emotion becomes too intense, connect back to breath. Focus and let that be your anchor. You can raise those knees towards each other one more time. Well, or more, just another inch towards each other, and just see what's in this space. You can also play with rocking the hips from side to side as you tremor. If you need a break, you can windshield wiper those knees and then come back. There's no wrong way to be in this space here today. If your emotions are becoming overwhelming and you feel that you've disconnected from your body and the space you're in, open your eyes and take a look at your walls. Notice the colors. Maybe think of what you ate for breakfast today. You can also play with having more of the sole of your foot towards the mat. Oftentimes I find keeping just the insides of my feet towards each other, letting the outsides on the mat has a different effect. You can also play with your arms. Maybe they're overhead. You can cactus your arms. You can have them over your heart, on your belly. Some people like to tuck their thumbs into their other fingers. It's one of the first mudras we made in the womb. It can be calming to our nervous system. And you may even find you prefer to have your entire soles of the feet towards the mat, your knees up more in an active rest. And you might notice a lot of tremoring there. Just allow these few minutes to let your body explore or rest. And you may even like to just be rocking those hips front to back, rolling the spine, or maybe a little bit of both or of everything. That's okay too. And then if you are feeling like your body would like to continue tremoring or just wherever you are, you feel free to do so. We'll begin the guided meditation just as a way to allow the body to find a nice calming relaxation, maybe helping you sleep this evening. But feel free, again, if your body is still wishing to tremor, just allow it to do so. But just make sure that at some point you're giving yourself this rest to let all that you have done, all of that time working, and then allow yourself space to kind of process and find a relaxation in it. So if you're ready, you can take a moment to find a really relaxing position. Maybe it's having a rolled up towel, just the bottom edge rolled up underneath your neck, maybe like a blanket or a towel rolled up underneath your knees. Just get really comfortable. Notice how your body feels. And notice if you need to make any slight adjustments to increase this comfort. Letting your body kind of readjust and land. And on your next inhale, draw in deep, filling all the way to the top of your head, and allow yourself a pause once you've drawn in all of that breath. And then breathe out slowly and steadily, allowing the body to release tension with your exhale. As you breathe in again, filling up, taking a little pause, and as you exhale, finding another corner, another space where some tension can melt away. Just continue this slow, deep, relaxing breaths a few more times. Finding more and more ease, more and more relaxation as the tension drifts away. As you begin to visualize the following scene, just allow your body and mind to drift deeper and deeper into relaxation. Imagine yourself now walking outdoors. You're walking through tall trees. They're vast. The trees have leaves that are moving in a slight breeze. The sun is shining down warmly. You're comfortable and you are at ease. You notice there's a clearing in the trees. And as you walk closer to this clearing, you see that there's a meadow. As you emerge out of the trees and into the meadow, tall green grass blows gently. And you keep making your way further into the middle of this meadow, looking around. Begin to imagine this meadow in your mind's eye, noticing the colors, taking in the sky, noticing the breeze. As you are here, you notice a sense that you are feeling a little tired and that it would be nice to sit down in this lush grass. You allow yourself to spread out on the grass. Maybe you have a blanket with you. Maybe you just wanted to feel the lush green. Wherever you are, it feels soft. The space is peaceful and calm. The breeze caresses your skin, and the sun is gently warming you. It's a pleasant day. It's not hot. As you notice the sights around you, the blades of grass, they're shining in the sun. You see the mix of meadow grass and clover and wildflowers all around you. You notice a small ladybug that's climbing up a blade of grass. It's reaching the top, and once it's there, it pauses for a moment and then gently flies away into the breeze. Imagine as you're in this space, you close your eyes to listen to the sounds, noticing birds singing, the rustle of the grass softly in the breeze, the leaves of the trees as they move. You feel the light of the sun on your face. You imagine turning your face upward to the sky, eyes closed, enjoying this feeling of the rays. You begin to notice the smell of sun on earth, the smell of wildflowers, the smell of the lushness of the grass. As you gently open your eyes in this space, you can see the sights around you in the meadow, and then notice how the ground is gently contouring the hills and a blue sky above you, with a few wispy clouds that are drifting slowly by. You notice there's a varying display of green. Some are light and some are dark. And there's brightly spotted splashes of wildflowers, red, yellow, purple, and white. The trees all lining up as if on the edge, pressed right up against this lush and green. The forest, a haven for birds and animals. And as you watch, a deer peers out through the trees and begins to slowly emerge to graze at the edge of the meadow. The deer raises its head, looks at you, begins sniffing the breeze, and then turns, disappearing silently back into the trees. You allow yourself to turn inward again, resting and luxuriating in this peaceful, beautiful meadow. As you're here, you notice what part of the space do you enjoy the most? What part of this peaceful feeling inside you do you notice? Give yourself a moment to feel the softness of grass and the sun and the breeze, and just imagine all of the details that your mind paints in this place. As it's now time to leave this meadow and return to the present, you gently stand up from your space in the grass, gather up your belongings that you had, and notice this deep sense of gratitude, a feeling of peace, and noticing in whatever sensations, whatever emotions that you brought with you that you'd like to keep, that feel important and necessary. And notice there might be some things as you entered the meadow that you no longer need to take back with you, but this is the space to leave them in. You slowly walk back to the edge of the trees, feeling lighter, softer, and more at peace. Noticing the breeze against your skin, the sun on the top of your head. Making your way back into the forest, noticing the trees overhead, the leaves as they rustle. And notice once again your breath here in this space. Allow yourself to broaden and expand the inhale once again, drawing in as much as you can, gently holding that breath, and slowly exhaling, letting the body ease into an even deeper relaxation. Letting your awareness travel to the surface beneath you, noticing all points that your body is connected to the earth here in this space. Let your awareness come now to the sounds in the room that you're in. Taking time to slowly move your fingers and your toes. Letting those maybe become larger, circling into the ankles, circling out of the wrists. And then if it feels good, you might notice that you would like to inhale and bring arms overhead, point your toes down the length of your mat. As you exhale, kind of really sensing into the psoas. Sometimes they crave space. So maybe not drawing knees all the way to chest, but just bringing soles of the feet towards the mat and letting the windshield wiper or rocking from side to side. But take a moment here just to really bring awareness to the psoas muscle, to the hip crease, that place right where your hips end, and just take a little time. Maybe they would like some compression. Maybe they need a little bit more space. And if so, even bringing soles of the feet back into cobbler's pose just for a moment. Maybe you like to release some tension in your neck, moving your head from side to side, wherever you are. And then very slowly finding one side that feels really comfortable to rest on, kind of curling into a fetal position. Your cheek can rest on your bicep, hand in front of your belly. And just take a moment here to pause, maybe even recall whatever intention, mantra, person, or place that you brought with you in the beginning. Maybe you have this sense of gratitude. Maybe you feel a sense that you were a little bit closer to letting go, or you did let go. And if you didn't, that's okay. It is not an easy task, but you spent time and you listened. And as you're ready, you can gently and slowly press yourself up to a seated position, whatever that looks like for you. Finding the sits bones rooting down, feel crown of the head reaching up, and just allow the shoulder blades to soften down. And then finding a nice place for the hands. It could be at heart center, it could be palms up, whatever feels easy and light and comfortable this evening. And today I'm going to leave you with a poem from Lucille Clifton, The Lesson of the Falling Leaves. The leaves believe such letting go is love. Such love is faith, such faith is grace, such grace is God. I agree with the leaves. I'm so very thankful that you were here today. I'm very thankful that you took this class, and I hope that you enjoyed, and I really hope to see you again soon. So thank you. Just going to end this, and Janet will